Hi there, I'm Luke, welcome back to Photobyte, and today we're checking out the Lumix LX100 Mark II. Let's get into it. So this is the LX100 Mark II. It's a nice small little compact camera. The previous model was just the LX100, which again, they look very similar in design and the profile looks very similar, but what they've done mainly is on the internals. So on the inside, we're looking at a micro four thirds 17 megapixel sensor. It also has a 24-17mm equivalent lens, which also has an aperture of f1.7 to f2.8. You also got a 2 megapixel 0.7 magnification viewfinder, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enableability, 3cm macro shooting, 4K photo which will give you 8 megapixel stills and some new 4K photo functions. As well as that, you've got 4K unlimited 30 frames per second burst mode and USB charging, which allows you to charge on the go. So on the back you do actually have a touchscreen, which is very helpful for just grabbing the picture and just taking the shot, so you haven't got to try and move a autofocus point around, which can get very annoying. So to do that, all you're going to do is turn it on, have the touchscreen enabled, and you'll just tap to take a picture. So it's super easy. The viewfinder itself, being the 0.7 magnification, has made it really easy to have a look around to see what you're taking pictures of. With the issue you sometimes get with the smaller viewfinders, it's very hard to get your eye up nice and close to it and try and see things clearly, and with the 0.7 magnification within the viewfinder, it makes it really straightforward. It also has the 2 megapixel screen inside the LCD. You can actually see what you're taking pictures of very clearly, so you're not looking at much of a pixelated image. As well as that, you've got a SD card in the bottom. You've also got a small battery, which they've carried on from the previous model. But one of the nice things they have got in this is you can actually charge it via USB, so that won't mean you got to take out a battery, charge it, wait for that charge, put it back in, or buy a spare. If you're on the go, you can take a battery pack, plug this in, and just charge it when you're not using it. So we find that super handy. Lumix have also gone with the idea that you have manual control on the outside. So in the top you do have your exposure dial, so you can set that, or you can set it over to auto to make your life easier. And then of course you've got the aperture ring on the front. What they've done that's very interesting is you also have an aperture ring, which can be used for multiple different purposes. You can use it to control your shutter, aperture, ISO, you can customize it to what you want. On the side, you then got your manual focus, autofocus macro, and just your general autofocus. You can just transition between those ones just by controlling it. And if you have a specific aspect ratio you like shooting with, you can do that with the top control. So with this one, you got 3:2, 16:9, 1:1, or 4:3. So you can choose which one you prefer. Currently, I got it set on the 3:2, just so I can get a nice, easy shape to work with. And on the back you have a few functions. So you've obviously got your record button, you've got your menu. They've also gone with a dial that spins rather than just one you can click up and down, which makes navigating through the menu much easier and faster. If you look at the top, you've also got a exposure compensation dial. I love the fact that more and more cameras are doing this because it makes life a bit easier. You haven't got to hold down a button and then move the dial on the back. You can just dial it into what you want and then off you go. With the 4K photo inside as well, it means that if you've got a lot of moments that you don't know when they're going to happen, so say you've got a dog running towards you, or maybe you're down at the zoo and you're trying to get a shot of, say, a chameleon firing its tongue out, grabbing an insect, you don't know when it's going to happen, and it can instantly happen like that. With the 4K photo, you'll just turn the camera on, set the 4K on the back, and then you would just hold down the shutter button and then let go. If you want as well, you can set it so it keeps running, and then when you press the shutter, it'll basically put the previous second to memory and then just delete the rest of it. So it saves having to wait and then grab the frame. What you can also do as well is you can actually go through your photos, you can find the one you want and you can save that to your gallery, so it's the first one that comes up. So when you're showing friends and family, you haven't got to sit there going through hundreds and hundreds of pictures of a chameleon about to stick its tongue out. You can just go straight to one that you want and share it with them. Alright, so for all you video fans out there, we're happy to say this does shoot 4K at 30 frames a second, and then it shoots 1080p at up to 60 frames a second. So it's not crazy on the video spectrum, but it will get you what you're after, especially if you're doing holiday shots. It won't be, you know, crazy slow-mos like you'd expect out of a larger camera, or maybe if you're spending more like the Sony RX100 Mark VI. But if you're mainly focusing on photography, this is the camera. And like I said, for the video, you do get your 4K at 30 frames a second, and you do get your 1080 at 60 frames a second, and you can shoot that in either MOV or MP4. You can change between the two. So you do have those files available to you, but predominantly this is a photographer's camera, not a videographer's camera. This camera does also shoot RAW, but we don't see that many people using it. This is more of a camera when you go on holiday and you want to take some pictures. You don't want to bring out your big heavy mirrorless or DSLR. You want something small, compact with a good sensor and a good dynamic range. This is what you would take. And most likely you would shoot JPEG, but for some people that, you know, they do like the RAW files, so you do have that ability to use them. We had a bit of a play with them. They're perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Just be careful when you do push the shadows, the grain will start coming out like others do. But that's just part of the Micro Four Thirds system. But the LX100 Mark II handles it really well, and it does a very good job at controlling that grain so it doesn't get too out of hand as you're moving up across the shadows. So in terms of like pros and cons, one of the pros definitely has to be its size and weight. I mean, for its size, it just goes right into my pocket, no problem at all, and then I can just take it out and it's ready to go. One of the things you do have to be careful with is, even though it looks like quite a small and compact system, when you turn it on, the lens does extend, so do be careful about pressing that button. I've done it a few times because where your finger sits, if you're not careful, if you do push that little bit forward, it will extend the lens out, so you don't want to break the lens, as that will be the most costly piece to replace. But apart from that, you know, it's been very good. Battery life has been very impressive. We haven't really spent much time charging it. I've been out in the field using it quite a bit, and the battery doesn't die off as quickly as I was expecting it to. There's definitely some improvements in that department. The other thing that may put people off as well is currently the price tag on this is £850, which for some is quite an expensive price tag. So you could have a look at going with the previous LX100, that is on for a more reasonable price. But this one being a new model, it will be at the higher price. You do have the Leica lens, the 24-75, so you are looking at good quality optics as well as a good quality sensor. So what you are getting is quality, so you are paying a quality price. So do bear that in mind if you are looking to purchase this camera. So overall, we've been very happy with the camera. It's been very easy to use. It works just like it's supposed to. It hasn't confused us in the menu. It's been very straightforward to use. The controls on it have been very straightforward. Nothing's complicated. Nothing's hidden in the menus that you got to unlock. So you haven't got to worry about that. And to be honest with you, if you just want a camera that you don't want to be taking a big DSLR or mirrorless camera, this will be perfectly ideal for taking on those trips. And or you're just wanting to carry it around on an everyday basis and don't want to worry about having to pick up a big hefty camera and take that with you every day, because it does get tiring. And I think Lumix are doing really well in offering something that can easily replace that and is in a much smaller and compact form. So on that note, my name's Luke, this is Photo Buyer, and we'll see you next time.